Hi friends, I am so excited to be guest designing for Paige Taylor Evans, and today I'm using one of her lovely cut files. This is called Lightstrands for stitching, and it's one of the lovely cut files from her bundle of 25 Christmas cut files for stitching. I will link the bundle for you in the description box below, as well as the individual cut file if you'd prefer to just buy the one. And Paige also has a freebie cut file every single day of December, so pop along to her Happy Scrappy Facebook group. I'll link it for you too. And you can grab a freebie every single day. Now, I have cut this cut file on a piece of mixed media cardstock, and I'm using a rainbow of colour from my Distress Ink mini cubes to add lots of colour behind that cut file before I start stitching. So I'm just working through all the colours, kind of following the light strand as it swirls around, and I'm going to be doing lots of stitching on top of that to coordinate with all the colour. So if you're unfamiliar with the packaging technique, it's really simple. So as you've seen, I've taken an ink cube and I dab it onto my mixed media mat, give it a little spritz of water, and then just take some plastic that I've scrunched up. So I'm just using an old little plastic bag and scrunching it up and dabbing it in the diluted ink and then tapping it onto my mixed media cardstock. Now it's really important to use a mixed media cardstock, or you can use a regular piece of cardstock, but you'd need to just prep it with some gesso first. These two options just allow you to work with various types of ink and paint on top of the cardstock before it's totally absorbed. So it allows you to add water and move the colour about, and it withstands the wetness of the mixed media a lot better as well. So I'm just going to work my way through all the colours, dabbing, and you can see I'm kind of twisting with that light strand rather than just doing a diagonal streak of colour across the page. And when it comes to my stitching, my colours are going to then kind of follow on nicely in that rainbow sequence. I do love a rainbow sequence. There's nothing prettier than those colours together, in my opinion. So I have chosen my colours based on the Sugar Plum Wishes collection. So I've got the paper pad from the collection, and I just took my little ink cubes and found the colours that coordinated the best with that collection. Now, I don't have all the colours that coordinate, so you may have noticed a little bit earlier on with the yellows, I combined a couple colours together. I also did that with the greens, and these colours are easy to mix together. So you just dab 2 ink pads down, spritz some water, mix the colours together, a little bit like mixing paint, and then use your new colour that you've created. Now, it's been a little while since I've shared a process video, and I'm so glad to be back sharing this one with you. I actually have so many sitting that are either edited but no voiceover, or the video is waiting to be edited. I'm just finding it really hard to get back into the zone of doing voiceovers. That's my biggest hurdle at the moment, but I'm hoping this video is kind of going to get me back on track, because I would really love to share them with you. I've had lots of you asking for process videos, and I have been a bit quieter on the scrappy front, but I have just absolutely loved creating this layout, and I have a couple more coming as well, guest designing for Paige Taylor Evans, and I just loved every minute of creating these pages. So I'm just about done with my packaging technique all along those light strands, and I am so pleased with how this is looking. My idea in my head is really coming to life with this, and it's nearly time to start stitching. Now obviously before you start stitching, you're going to want to wait for your page to completely dry. Once it's dried, you will find that your page warps a little bit when you've done mixed media, a little bit less so when using a very heavy mixed media cardstock. If using regular cardstock with gesso, there does tend to be a bit more warping. So once my mixed media is all dry, what I tend to do is layer my page between heavy books or boxes, just for a little bit, to usually overnight, to be honest, and that just allows my page to get flattened a little bit. Not that it's a big deal if it's warped. Now I'm just coming in here with a little bit more of the colour, and I'm just adding some splatters. I wanted to add a little bit more visual texture with the splats. So they're going to be, as you see here, I've splattered them on and just left them for a little bit, and then I'm using my paper towel just to kind of roll them up so you can see the splatters, but they're not too dark and prominent. They just kind of blend in with that rainbow of colour in the background. Now I'm just working through each of those colours. Now I could have done this while I was doing each of the individual colours, and I already had some diluted ink to the side. However, when the background is wet, if you do splatters on top of it, the splatters tend to kind of spread and disperse when you splatter on top of wet mixed media already. So my background is already partially dry, so those splatters can kind of sit on top of the ink that's already there and just kind of add another layer of interest and visual texture. And then when I think I'm done with the background, I decide I'm not quite done and I want to add just a little bit more. Now these lights, I've just envisaged them being a beautiful rainbow of twinkly lights, and I really want to show that sparkle in the background. So I've got a rather old bottle of Jen Hatfield's Gold Mist Spray, which is just the best, and I know lots of scrappers absolutely love this. So this bottle's still going strong, and I'm just splattering it on the background. I'm not spraying it, I'm just taking the nozzle out and using the little spray tube to kind of splatter that all over, and it looks a little bit of a mess at the moment, but I've just kind of sprayed over the whole page, given it a moment to kind of sit, and now I'm just rolling up all the excess, and it just leaves this beautiful golden shimmer, which you're just going to see in a moment. It just sparkles, and it just makes me think of a strand of lights, and I just absolutely love it. So pleased with how this turned out, and now it's time for stitching. Now I'm going to just be stitching the actual strand, not the light bulbs just yet, and I've picked a lovely metallic thread. I'm just using 3 strands rather than the full 6 that it comes as, and it's like a pewter colour. I can't tell you which numbers from the DMC thread it is. I'm so sorry. I have some threads that are really organized, and they kind of wound around a little card, and I've written what the number of the thread is, and then I've got a huge bunch where I've been too enthusiastic to get started with stitching, where I've taken the packaging off and just got going. So I usually just use my stash and just kind of pull out colours that coordinate, or I head over to the craft shop with my piece of paper or whatever it is that I want to coordinate with, and then pick out my colours. Now I have been using backstitch for this, which gives quite a nice neat stitched line. And so how it works is you will put your needle into a hole from the back, coming forward, and then you will take a stitch backwards to the previous hole, and you just continue that along the strand or the row of stitches that you're doing. Now I just forewarn you, the metallic thread, it looks beautiful, but it is such a pain to stitch with. I've only shown you a portion of this, but I originally started with 6 strands, but it kept getting tangled, so then I just reduced it to 3, and you can see I've gotten it a bit knotted and twisted a few times already in this short little clip, and but I persevered because it is totally worth it to have that extra little bit of shimmer, and I do love this colour for the strands. I think it offsets all the beautiful colour that's coming up really nicely. Now I am going through my embroidery thread box, and you can see as I'm pulling them out, I have got threads in various states, twisted on cards, on different cards, wrapped around itself, still with its packaging on. Yes, so I'm finding all the colours I need. I've not had to buy any, so that's handy. And now I'm also pulling out sequins. I've got quite a selection of sequins, something for absolutely every project. Now I'm going to be starting off with a red, so I've got my coordinating sequins there, and I've taken quite a long strand of the red embroidery thread. I've kept all 6 strands, and I've knotted the end, and I've pulled it in through one of the holes through the back of the page. I've threaded on a sequin, and then I've picked a different hole to take the thread back through. So they're a decent distance apart. There's really no rhyme or reason to how I've done this. Some stitches have sequins on, some don't. I really just want to try and fill that light bulb with color. So I'm stitching from one side to the other, up, down, across, diagonally. Most of my stitches are diagonal, but I'm kind of just using what I can see and where the gaps are to guide me where to stitch. And I will sometimes add a sequin, sometimes not, just really trying to fill in the gaps. I'm also using a variety of different sized sequins, and they also help to fill in some of the gaps with colour, so that by the time I'm finished doing all the stitching, I'm going to have a light bulb that is sparkling and full of colour. Now, I'm not going to lie to you. Stitching this cut file is a time-consuming process, but if you enjoy stitching, this is such a lovely project to do, especially if all your lights are different colours. It really helps to keep me motivated when there's get to work with new colours, because you slowly start to see the design unfold, whereas I find if I'm stitching with one colour, you can kind of see what the design's going to look like immediately. After you've done that first light, you can see what it's going to look like. Whereas with this process, you start to slowly kind of unfold with how it's going to look. And I find that really, really exciting. And like I said, it definitely keeps me motivated to keep stitching. So this is something I've done mostly in front of the TV. I did the start of my stitching at my crafty desk so I could film it, and then I took it downstairs to my living room, and each night while watching a bit of TV I did a bit more stitching. So it did take a little while, but I really, really loved the process. And here you've got a nice close-up of my fingers while I'm trying to get that needle through. Now, to give a nice sharp edge to that light bulb, I am just doing a back stitch going all the way around the light just to give it a nice outline, and that just finishes it off perfectly, and I'm really, really happy once that's complete.
Making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, I spend my time running around, keeping people pleased. But this is my favorite holiday. It's a chance to start over new, 'cause I missed you, so I'm letting go of everything but you. These are the good times with you. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else.
And that is the first little light done, and I can't tell you how excited I was with how it turned out. And even more so as the colours progressed and I got to see this beautiful rainbow. I had this idea in my head with adding the sequins to each of the little light bulbs. What I hadn't foreseen was how those sequins would kind of add a 3D dimension and add a lovely hint of a domed shape to each of those lights. And it was just everything I'd hoped it would look like, and I really, really hope that you like it as well. Now, at this point, I hadn't even decided what photos I was going to use or how I was going to decorate the page. I'd really just focused on these lights, and I knew I wanted them to be rainbow and colourful and have mixed media in the background, and I've achieved that. So in a moment, when I finish this light, I'm going to need to start thinking about what else I'm going to add to this pretty page. Do you ever do that? Start off with a background idea or one idea, but not really have any clue about the rest of the page, and kind of just let the process kind of take you along. So, well, that's what happened with this page.
That's how it's supposed to be, making our Christmas memories. Oh, oh, la da da da, oh, oh, la da da da, oh, oh, la da da da, making our Christmas memories. I've been wrapping presents for you. I've been hanging marbles in the tree, and I've lit my house with Christmas lights, so you should come back home to me. And when we wake up in the morning, I'm gonna play those carols that you love. We'll be singing all the melodies until the sun comes up. These are the good times with you. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, oh, la da da da, oh, 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 la da da da. Making our Christmas memories. Yes, these are the good times with you. Don't even care what we do if I spend it with you. Just you and nobody else. It's so good to see you again, to see you again. Baby, this year it's just gonna be.
And that is it complete. And you get a first little glimpse at all that sparkle and shimmer in the background. And I think this is going to be a beautiful backdrop for the photo that I do eventually pick. The photo that I am choosing is a picture of my twins from a few years ago actually now. And it was just the cutest picture. It was before their Christmas party at nursery. Yep, it would have been a few years ago if it was nursery. And they're giving each other the cutest little cuddle and big smiles on their faces. And I just love this photo so much. So I am just very, very carefully cutting around 5 of those lights. I did check the back of my page frequently. I didn't want to accidentally cut through like a stitch that I'd done from one light bulb to the other and then disconnected the thread and then it all unravels. So I was just being very careful, and also it took me so long to do all the stitching that I don't want to accidentally slip my craft knife and cut into one of those lights and ruin it, although there would have more than likely been a way to fix it. There always is. But I was very, very careful with that, and now my photo can just kind of slot in behind those lights. Now, I pondered my title for the longest time. I wanted something that kind of fit in with the lights. I wanted to kind of talk about the lights in some way in the title, but I also wanted to coordinate with my photo, and I didn't want the title to kind of stand out too much on the page. I really wanted that lovely light strand to be the focal point. So I had the idea to have my title go twisty twirly around that light strand, but the trick was trying to find the thickers that were the best option for that, and I tried so many more than I actually show on this video. I tried so many different types, and I finally was happiest with white lettering. So the words light up and Christmas tree, I used a slightly bigger letter, thicker, and then the other words I used a much smaller one, and I think that worked well. So I don't think that the title stands out too much, but it is there. I love what it says: you light my life up like a Christmas tree. It's just really subtle in the background there, but the words are there too, and I was really pleased with how that all worked out. Now, to add a little bit of decoration, more decoration to my page, you could call it complete. I don't think you necessarily need to add any more, but I never feel like I'm done. So I wanted to add in a couple of Christmas trees, obviously tying in with the title that talks about lighting up my life like a Christmas tree, and then also my kids are also standing in front of our Christmas tree, even though you can only just see a small portion of it. So I used a lovely die cut set from scrapbook.com. It's little nested Christmas trees, so I used one of the bigger ones and one of the smaller ones, and used 2 of the pattern papers from Sugar Plum Wishes, and then I've just backed my photo. I've double backed it again using pattern papers from Sugar Plum Wishes, and just kind of layered those 2 on top of each other. Now, once I've put everything together, I kind of feel like something is missing and not quite finished. So I am going to distress all the edges So I start off by distressing the edges of my Christmas tree. So I'm just taking my scissors and I'm going to just kind of ruffle up the edges a bit, and it just adds a little bit of extra texture and interest. So I'm going to do that with all the layers of paper, so both of the Christmas trees and then the 2 layers of pattern paper behind my photo as well, and that just adds an extra bit of interest.
Making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, I spend my time running around, keeping people pleased. But this is my favorite holiday. It's a chance to start over new. 'Cause I missed you, so I'm letting go of everything but you. These are the good times with you. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, oh, la da da da, oh, 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 la da da da, oh, oh, la da da da. Making
Now
our Christmas
that texture was not enough for me. I needed to add a little bit of stitching, and now I'm happy. I feel that gold stitching, I used my sewing machine, that's just kind of finished it off, and I'm much happier with that. So I've layered my bigger Christmas tree behind my photo, kind of coordinating with the Christmas tree behind my kids in the picture, and then I'm going to layer the smaller lime green one on top. And I like how that lime green Christmas tree kind of coordinates with the little light bulb that's going to be just beside it, and I kind of feel like I'm continuing with that rainbow sequence. Now I would like that little tree to be slightly raised. I want to give a little bit of extra 3 dimension to the page, so I've taken a thin strip of craft foam and stuck that to the back of it, and I'm just going to raise it up using that little centerpiece, and I'm really pleased with how that looks. Now I'm always looking for something more to add. It felt unfinished, but I wasn't sure what, so I went through all my stickers and I went through all my bits and bobs, and I pulled out these lovely gold gems, and I'm going to just be dotting those along the light strand and on my page, just for even more sparkle and interest. I do tend to feel like I know when I've done too much on a page, and I don't feel that I've done that yet. But I suppose each of us is different. But for me, I felt like I needed to add something extra. So it is little gold sparkles, and these are in various sizes. There's 3 sizes in the bag, and I love the interest that creates by having a variety of different sizes. So I'm just kind of placing those in position just to check that I'm happy with where everything is, and then I will be gluing them all down. Now I've got some lovely iridescent stickles, and I'm just using those to add a little bit of shimmer to some of the stars on that front Christmas tree. And the holly pattern paper that I've used for the bigger Christmas tree, you might notice that there are teeny tiny little stars in between the different holly leaves, and I'm going to add a touch of sparkle to each of those as well. So it's really quite subtle, but just adds lots of shine and prettiness to the page. Now I keep thinking that there's something missing, so I decide that I need a little bit of colour behind the edge of my photo and my Christmas tree, and I think that that's what is missing. Now I've stuck my photo and that back Christmas tree directly onto the page, and I don't want to get the ink on those papers because they haven't been prepped, so the ink will just soak right into that paper and stain it. So I'm carefully trying to work around the photo and just lift it up a little bit without getting any of that ink on those other pattern papers. And there, I'm really happy with that. I'm much happier with just that subtle colour in the background. And now for a little bit of shimmer, I use a piece of paper just to mask my photo and the trees so that that gold doesn't get onto those. And there, I'm very pleased with how that's turned out. And I keep thinking I'm done, but I'm not done. One more sticker. This is from one of Paige Evans' previous collections from long ago, and Today Was Magic was perfect to stick in there, and it just kind of finished off that cluster of Christmas trees. And these little stars just finished off those trees as well. Just it was the star on top of the Christmas tree. And I'm really happy with that. And that is my layout complete. So here are some close-ups so that you can see all that shimmer and shine and all the extra detail. Thank you so much for sticking with me through to the end. As I mentioned before, I will link up the lovely bundles that Paige has released this month for the month of December, as well as her Facebook group, so you can grab those freebies. I'll link those in the description box below. If you would like to see more of my work, you can find me over on Instagram at Handmade Happy by Monique. I would so appreciate any of your comments and likes, and if you have enjoyed what you see, if you'd like to subscribe, that would be amazing. Thanks so much, and I'll see you next time. Bye!